Hi, I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing excellent. Thank you for joining. And today we are going to, of course, drill you to understand your background, your journey, and share your experience working with Lilac Buds with the future aspirants who decide to consider us in their journey as well. So,
Yeah,
with that, Harleen, maybe if you could just start with, the first question that I always like to begin with is tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, and what were your chief concerns when you were starting the MBA application process when you connected with us last year. And why did you decide to start your journey with Lilac Buds?
sure, perfect. So I think I'll start with the introduction. I am Harleen, and I basically have 4.5 years of experience. I'll complete 5 by the time I join my MBA. Been working in finance for a while, and yeah, I think basically did some research. I figured out that MBA looks like a good next step for my career aspirations, and that's how the entire journey started, and a long, long journey for sure. Yeah, so that's how I decided to pursue an MBA, and then I started my research of finding out different consultants and understanding the process a little better. And that's where Lilac came into the picture. I basically had a friend who referred me because a lot of people from her workplace had basically worked with you guys, what I mentioned as well. So everybody had a good feedback. So I was like, okay, since all the other process is going to be so stressful, let's just go with the like consultant I feel more comfortable starting with, because I had heard from people that they had a great time working. And yeah, I think I resonated that as well. A few concerns that I definitely had in mind was like a lot of times people have like caps in terms of, certain numbers of calls and edits and all of that. So that is one main concern that I had when I was searching for the consultants to go forward with. Because like for stuff like this, you want people to brainstorm with you, you want reiterations. So that cap in terms of, okay, we'll only do 2 or 3 edits. I think that was something, the fact that Lilac does not have anything like that. That was one of the key differentiating factors for me personally.
Okay, cool. Thank you. But I think the two or three edits is generally in the beginning it's not limited, but you must have realized at the end it's only not needed, doesn't need more than two, three edits.
Yeah.
You did a lot of applications yourself, right? Like you did, well, how many applications did you do across round one and two? More probably like seven, eight?
8, yeah.
Eight, right. All right. So tell us, like, you were one of the applicants who had a round one, round two strategy that, that was spread out across rounds. Walk us through why you decided to go with a round one, round two strategy after the discussions, of course, with us. Why did that make sense to you at that point in time? And of course, share about which application you did in round one, round two, and in the end, where did you get the admits and scholarships?
Sure. So I basically decided on round one, round two, just to also understand my strengths and my, like, basically where I'm standing a little better. So went ahead with like a few safety schools, a few aspirational schools in the round one, because the strategy was basically if I get into the aspiration school, I would basically be able to shoot higher in the second round. Or if it didn't sit well, I would have still the opportunity to do a few more safety schools in the round two. So that was basically the strategy in terms of splitting both of them. And Lilac definitely came like for great help while shortlisting the colleges, because there's definitely a very long list and everybody has something to offer. So understanding the best fit for you and then prioritizing amongst them, that was definitely a task. But I basically split my applications like a few. I applied to a few European schools and a few US schools in the first round. I think I did 5 applications for round one, and decided to put forward 3 or 4 more in the latter round. And I think, yeah, it did perfectly. It worked out perfectly well for me because after I was done with the few first 2, 3 applications, you understand the hang of the process a little better. And also since I was working, with like you and Prachi both, that was definitely extremely helpful. So like one interesting story that I always think about is initially after I was done with my round one applications, I was attending a few alumni networking events before the start of round two. And a lot of times the feedback that they gave me was something that I had very closely, like I knew a lot of things already because I'd been working with Prachi, and she's NYU Stern pass out, and she's been in the system, she's done that, she's been working after that. So that perspective was definitely very important. And also helped me then when I started with my round two application. So splitting it across definitely helped a lot. And so in the first round, I applied to, I think, two schools, LBS in Cambridge, and then a few in US as well. Honestly, the first round I feel was great for me personally because the first application that I sent out, I got in. So it made the entire process extremely easy because I always had a safety cushion. And Cambridge definitely fits a lot of my check boxes in terms of what I wanted from my MBA. So honestly, after the first application, it was more fun and it was like a learning curve in itself. Applying basically the application process is like a pre MBA, I think.
Yes.
So
Okay.
it was a lot of fun, honestly. Like I think I have enjoyed the journey of
The
just
pre-MBA
applying. Like
part was all the networking, all the
yeah,
writing and the communication, the interviewing, which you'll have to do eventually as well. So you're very
yeah.
true with that, right? It's a lot of the application process itself is like a pre-MBA feel.
Yeah. My mom always jokes about it. She's like, I like you do or do not do an MBA, that's a separate thing. But like you have done like a small course in itself, just like applying for it. And I 200% like agree with that because that literally was the case. But yeah, I think the fact that the first one worked out helped a lot. And after that, when I applied to the US schools in round one as well, that also like not exactly the results that I hoped for, but I was waitlisted at a few colleges. And I think that also somewhere honestly helped me out because it just pushed me a little more to network with people and understand more about the process. So worked out perfectly for me. And then when I was applying in round two, I think that just made things very easy. I was super comfortable and confident with the entire process. And by then I also so I had got my admits for Cambridge and HEC. So I felt like fulfilled from the European point of view. I had my options to go to. And then currently I'm still waitlisted at Cornell and Duke. We've given the interview for Duke. Hopefully, I'll hear back sometime. And in round two, I heard back from Georgetown as well a few days back. So I think it's been a great journey. I feel great now that it's ended, and I'm in the position to basically make the choice of where I want to go.
So three admits, two waitlists which are still awaiting decision, and two rejections. Now, I know one of the most interesting points here is you got a regret from a safety school that you had considered and we had considered as a safety school at that
Yeah,
point in time, which was Keenan Flagler, given the profile and everything else in finance. But
yeah,
that was definitely a surprise for you, probably even for us to some extent. But after some time, we will need to kind of evaluate what really happened there. But always getting into the dream school, right? LBS Cambridge right up top. That's why we started with the dream schools right out of the gate. Of course, Cornell and Duke in very similar thought process in round one, right? Like
mm,
that was your top of the pile, and Georgetown, Keenan Flagler generally slightly lower in the rankings. Now, I know that you're heading towards Cambridge currently at this point in time, even though you have the HEC admit. Tell us, I mean, I
yeah.
think your whole HEC interviewing experience was very unique for you. I would like you to add a little response there in terms of preparing for that and presenting your stuff. But also, why are you picking Cambridge over HEC?
Sure, sure, definitely. So, like I have said this to so many people, I think the interview with AGC is I think this is going to be one of the most interesting interviews of my life. I actually wonder if anything can beat it because I heard back from them randomly on a Thursday evening that okay, you're supposed to conduct two interviews. You talk to your alums. They gave me the names of the people and prepare a PPT that I'm going to present in those interviews, and that had to be done within the next, I think, 4 or 5 days. So I think that again, the why the journey feels like a pre-MBA because Thursday evening just completed work. Now I have to start on a PPT, and then one of the people that I talked to mentioned that she wants to do the interview the next day, and so definitely very nerve-wracking and experience the interview process for HEC. But yeah, I think it again it was a very interesting experience. I had to prepare a PPT, and they don't even give you a topic. It's basically the world is your oyster. Go see what you want to talk about. And I think that part was definitely interesting. Brainstorming, understanding what topic would depict me the best, and making that interview overnight. And next day morning, you remember I was talking to you all anxious that, okay, I have prepared the PPT all night. I like literally didn't get a lot of time to prepare for the interview. But since we'd already been done with Cambridge once before, I think I was able to sort of calm my nerves a little eventually. And yeah, both the interviews went pretty well. I was very excited to talk to the alums, and they were very interesting people as well. So a good experience in itself. A little too sort of anxious, but I think all's well that ends well. So definitely it was fun. Coming to why I chose Cambridge over HEC. I think so. Even the interviews, they were like pretty interesting, wherein the alums gave me a lot of insights into the process and the MBA itself. I think it's actually a very funny outcome because HEC used to be my dream college before I began the entire application process. I was like, it'll be so cool to go to France and study there, and like I'll have my own Emily in Paris experience basically. But the more research I did, I talked to you guys, I networked with other alums from HEC and through the interview process as well. I realized that like even though it's like way higher in terms of ranking with Cambridge, but Cambridge just fits my career aspirations better. So I'm working in finance, and after my MBA, I'm trying to pivot to like I have a few domains in mind that I want to switch to. And I believe Cambridge would be definitely a much better choice to be able to land me in those positions. And that basically was the major reason why, like, the decision honestly came very easy.
Cool. Awesome. Okay. So at this point, if somebody wanted to start their journey for 2026, what would you give them in terms of advice that these are the things to keep in mind as you start now looking for help, consulting, MBA, doing it yourself, whatever it is, right, that they're starting the journey with? What would your feedback or advice be to somebody like that?
I think the first thing would definitely be start early. Not saying that you can't do it on a shorter period, you can, but it's just easier, honestly, mentally, if you have more time in hand. Because once you start the journey, there are going to be crossroads where you realize that okay, I started this out with a certain perspective, but now I like basically that perspective is being challenged. So you want to have that time to like step back and see what fits your picture better. So if possible, definitely start as early as possible so that you have that time to navigate and figure out your journey, and you have that time to make those decisions once you start. And definitely, if you haven't given your GMAT, please do it right away. I think that's the most important thing. It's just otherwise it's very uncertain. You don't like it. It's a very like it impacts your process a lot, and not having the GMAT like right close to the deadlines or like wanting to give it again, I do think that's not a very good idea. You want to be able to focus on your applications and your essays and like give that your all. So like basically start early and do get done with your GMAT. And I think after that, once you get on with the consultant, it just flows easier because you have people who are guiding you in terms of how you should be taking certain decisions or what are other things that you can do to enhance your application. And definitely network a lot. Networking goes a long way. I think even with Duke, so I was initially waitlisted, then I got back, like I heard back from them for the interview, which honestly was like very unlikely because I've talked to so many other students who were waitlisted. After being waitlisted in round one, getting an interview in round two, it was like a great thing. And that primarily was because I had the time to send them waitlist updates. I had the time, I pursued MBA maths and also networked with people. So you basically want time to be able to put your best foot forward. So start early.
You have the advantage of working with not one but two mentors, right? Like me as like the primary consultant, but also with Prachi. How was that experience like, getting two uh getting two perspectives possibly on every essay, getting two maybe sometimes conflicting feedback, but sometimes overlapping feedback and reaffirming what
Yeah.
sometimes might have been against your general thought process. So give me like, how did you feel, or were you ever conflicted on something? How did you like that experience or not like that experience for that matter?
I think that actually had a great impact on my entire application process because if we look at the first draft that we started from and the final draft that we submitted to the colleges, there's like a stark difference. And also the subsequent drafts that we were making for other colleges in different essays. So I think all of that came because I was working with different perspectives, and definitely in like when you talk about a conflicting situation, because there are certain times I was very sure of like, okay, my vision. But if I was talking to either you or Prachi about it, you had your own vision. So having a third person who can give like an outside perspective that, hey, you two have been on this process for a longer time, but I think like this makes more sense. That really, really, I think helped a lot. And it basically, like the more perspective you have while framing an essay, the more airtight and crisp your essays are. So I think that was 200% very helpful. And then also having a mentor who has done this process, who's in the system, she's working in US in an industry that I'm planning to venture into. All of that does help a lot because I remember even with my goals essay, sometimes I had like a conflicting perspective, but I knew that, she's there, she knows, she understands the market and the industry better. So a lot of times I had to keep my hands aside and then go forward with her. But that honestly always proved the best because as I mentioned, like after that, like after my applications, when I networked with people who are in the industry or the current students from various universities, they basically said the same thing. So I'm happy that I sometimes went forward with what you guys were
Good,
saying.
good, good. Super. I think we are super excited. Let's wait for to hear back from Cornell and Duke, and if you do land up getting some positive news within next 14 days odd from now, I think maybe you'll get the final results on that as well. But
Yeah.
definitely, Harleen, thank you, one, for trusting us and being part of the whole journey with us together. And second is congratulations on having these three phenomenal admits, of course, which, I really enjoyed working both on Cambridge and HEC specifically because they are not easy to come by. And, given your goals, I think Cambridge is a super fit for sure. So definitely, if you do decide to go to Cambridge, we'll be following your journey closely and staying in touch with you over the years to to know where you landed up doing all the things that you had put down in your goals essays everywhere.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much, Arlene, for taking the time.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And thank you for all the help through the applications. I think definitely wouldn't have been able to do it alone.
Yeah, welcome.